Now, with just a few minutes to go, I would like to welcome, I'll be here throughout the day, don't worry. I'll be commenting and chatting with you throughout the day, as will the team, and I'll be back in between each session just to keep explaining what's going on and how things work. So, without further ado, let's get into the keynote session of the day. The fantastic Dan Thorne. He is a senior social media manager at Guinness World Records, okay? And he is going to be talking about wrangling with retention and tackling TikTok. We know this is available in the app, and we are hoping it's going to be on the main platform, socialdayfest.com as well. Please feel free to ask all your questions. So without further ado, let's welcome Dan Thorne, Guinness Records, to the Social Day stage. Round of applause for Dan.
Hi everyone. Hopefully you can hear me. Thanks very much for joining me. My name's Dan Thorne. I'm from Guinness World Records, and I'm very privileged to be back at Social Day. This time last year, I was on stage talking about Guinness World Records and the evolution of our social media strategy and all that kind of thing. I've worked at Guinness World Records for about 6 years. And I'm here today to talk you through, mainly, I'm going to be talking about retention, which is all important on social media, and also our journey on TikTok so far, and the things that we've been doing over there. So, so this is me. I work for Guinness World Records, and here are lots of interesting record holders that I've met over the years, and doing various sort of live broadcasts and YouTube videos and things like that, and meeting and greeting, and I wanted to start. Well, I was going to start my presentation today with a kind of a rambling story all about how a family picnic went horribly wrong around the time of the end of lockdown and the first opportunity to go to the park, a proper picnic. And I'm sure that all of you community managers and social media managers out there can relate to this. But anyway, this was a bit of an upset where, unfortunately, we managed to set a content ID match of thousands of speedrun videos on a bank holiday weekend, which quickly became a bit of an issue with the speedrun community, who are obviously people that are gamers, very passionate about speedruns. And unfortunately, we managed to put a content ID match on our YouTube channel against thousands of speedrun videos, which led to a bit of an uproar. And it's just not the kind of thing that you want to have to deal with when you're out on a family picnic on the very first time that you actually get out of the house. Anyway, this was going to be a bit of a rambling story to start things off, but I've realised we've got a very short amount of time, so I'm going to get to the good bit first. But as I'm sure you've all experienced, the world of work has changed for everyone, not least of us working in social media, and unexpected hiccups and tech glitches happen all the time. And it's just about having to deal with those as quickly as possible to try and minimise the damage. And of course, I'm sure you've all experienced this as well, the increased competition for numbers of viewers and keeping people interested and engaged on your channels. And this is certainly where retention comes in, the all-important part of that. But I'll get onto the retention side of things later. I just wanted to give you a little overview of how record breaking has changed over the last 6 months or so, where we've had to engage our audiences in lockdown and really think about how best to do that. So we knew that we had to step up to the challenge of adapting some of our record titles that were probably well overdue an update anyway, rethinking the process of making things a bit more simplified and immediate. So the first thing that we came up with was the weekly GWR challenge, which was previously something we only did for our kids' website, and something that we did a few years ago with our website called Challenges, which was kind of a community where people could come and break records and go into a league table and kind of interact with each other. And it was quite fun, but we didn't maintain that because at the time there wasn't really a massive demand for it, and it was quite a resource heavy thing. But actually, I think as time's gone by, we've rethought that perhaps this is something that we'd like to do more of and make things a little bit more accessible and simple. So we had our adjudicators at home. Luckily, they were all suited up and ready to roll on their webcams. So I'll give you an example in a second of our adjudicator Mark taking people through the guidelines for one of the weekly GWR challenges. So we worked hard to find solutions that don't compromise the integrity of records, but can still be attempted with less requirements for complicated evidence and witness statements, which is part of the process of that people go through when they apply for a record. We also started a Facebook community called Try This at Home, a Facebook group, and all of our challenges went out on TikTok, on Instagram, and on Facebook. We also experimented with a few live quizzes on TikTok and Facebook, and did some interaction with our editor-in-chief as well.
This week's challenge: how many keep-ups can you do with a toilet roll in 30 seconds? Post your video on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok or YouTube. Our records team will be on the lookout for potential record breakers. Don't forget to use the hashtag GWR Challenge and tag us on social. What else are you going to do?
What else are you going to do, indeed? So that was the first challenge that we put out there, and it was actually inspired by the stay-at-home challenge, which I think many of you will have seen. People doing keep-ups with toilet rolls. It was quite topical at the time, so we thought that would be a good starting point. And also, we had to get all of our staff engaged in that as well, to get them to send us videos of them trying to do keep-ups with toilet rolls, so that we had some demonstrations of what the record looked like. Another thing that we've been experimenting with is kind of the competition element of record breaking, where we bring in two challenges, and this is what we call the Beard Showdown, and two record holders were involved in this one. And one chap in New Zealand, another chap in the US, for the most pencils in a beard. There's a lot of beards in this presentation. There's a bit of a beard theme going on here. So so that was another element to this that we'd like to bring in more of, and have more kind of head-to-head challenges. And actually, this was really good-natured, and the two guys that were involved were having a lovely chat with each other as the attempt went on, and their wives were coming in, and it was just a lovely sort of friendly challenge, and we'd love to do a little bit more of that. So we're going to be engaging in that a little bit more in future. And also, something we've noticed with record breaking is that people really get excited about the competition element of things, and it's something that happens on our TV shows a lot, where there's two challengers going for the same record, and that same kind of sense of jeopardy can really get people interested on social, I think. So we had to work hard as well. So aside from our own channels, there is the other side of the business, which is our consultancy business, and online record breaking we had to come up with lots of new solutions for our consultancy clients, who would normally be doing kind of mass participation events and PR events around new products and that kind of thing. So we came up with a whole load of new record titles related to live streaming, online pledges, online albums, virtual hangouts, online lessons, video chains, virtual gifting, e-commerce, charity pub quizzes. Actually, last week there was a promotion for the new Bill and Ted film, where we had a new record for the most people playing air guitars simultaneously. So that was quite fun. And I think that this has reflected the general mood amongst marketers who wanted to do something that makes everyone feel good, and in quite a lot of the time doing something charity. So social media and the reactions of our audiences on social have informed and facilitated the approach that we've taken with that. And I've contributed to quite a lot of the discussions around the benchmarks for each platform, from Zoom to WeChat and YouTube live gifting and all that kind of thing. Everything under the sun that can be measured as a superlative. And we've seen a huge increase in interest in live streaming records for clients in China and in the US. Lots and lots of people contacting us about Instagram Live. But there's also the challenges of measuring something like Instagram Live, because the stats that you get out of that are fairly woolly. So I believe that that picture in the top left there is a record attempt in China for the most people unboxing. And that was a multiple person attempt, and you can see all the individual people there that are all unboxing at different locations. And this was the live adjudication in the studio. There's a chap there in the middle who's doing the largest Rubik's Cube lesson. So loads and loads of people engaging in the sidebar and watching this Rubik's Cube lesson. And on the right there is our adjudicator Adam handing over the certificate for the virtual pub quiz record, which was the most participants in a virtual pub quiz. So, moving back to our own channels and monetizing our content and retention. This is kind of the second half of the presentation I spoke about earlier on. So, and I guess we've really had to work hard to maintain retention in the last 6 months. I think it has been slightly more challenging because everyone's online and everyone's offering something interesting, and there's lots of new ideas out there as to how to engage audiences. And just to give you an overview, we have a show on Snapchat twice a week, and we have a regular flow of content on our Facebook page of new videos coming in from our record holders, and of course our YouTube channel. Retention is a constant battle, and some of the most popular themes of our Facebook page include kind of really amazing shareable skills like juggling Rubik's Cubes and solving them at the same time. Really gratuitous destruction. So any record attempt that involves smashing things, it's quite satisfying to watch. Also the kind of the athletic abilities of some of our record holders who do incredible gymnastics and things like that. And I think food is a big one as well. So eating records is another one that kind of really resonates and makes people stick around to watch the show. But what we found also is what doesn't work well. We've kind of built an audience that's really into just watching something that's spectacular and real showbiz kind of entertainment. We are less good on social at attracting audiences that were interested in more in-depth profiles of our record holders and kind of talking heads interviews and think pieces. And we know that we do have lots of really fascinating record holders who've got amazing stories to tell, but we haven't quite worked out the best way for our audiences to consume that. And maybe, I guess, traditionally Facebook's not a natural kind of audience for a sort of a more of a think piece. It's kind of it seems to be that you kind of have to be quite sensational to stand out in a newsfeed. And only a small proportion of our audiences are interested in life stories. So here's an example. So our record holder, Brian Berg, who stacks cards in incredible structures and holds the record for the tallest playing card structure. Brian's also got a lot of interesting stories to tell about how he trained for this and all that kind of thing. And as you can see here, the retention on that particular video where we interviewed Brian and talked all about his record was not popular. And you can see the drop off immediately in that graph there. So, instead, later put out a similar video, but in this case, it was all action, just the record attempt. And showing him building the tallest house of cards from the bottom upwards. So that's a constant challenge for us. And as you can see, the retention on that second video was much better. Okay, so on the subject of retention and moving on, I think it's time to introduce the TikTok side of the presentation, which I think might be why quite a lot of people will be watching this. And so I'll move on to the beginnings of our TikTok channel. So um, this is the beginnings of Douyin, which is the Chinese equivalent of TikTok, which was the first iteration of the platform in China. Back in 2018, my colleague Echo in our Beijing office had started to experiment with these short form video platforms like Douyin and Kuaishou, and we're starting to see some really good results. And it turned out that a lot of our material, a lot of record holders, really suited the platform, so we've started to experiment with that. Here's Echo. She's on a trip to Tokyo in this photo, but yeah, just we started to see that people were actually genuinely quite interested in watching our record holders, and so we started to grow on Douyin, and that sort of set off some ideas for in our London team to start thinking about, you know, once TikTok launches over here, we'll be ready for it. Now, I'm not sure if that actually played for you. It looks like a still image for me. So, but if it didn't play, that was Echo's edit of the largest collection of coprolite, and coprolite is dinosaur poo, with an unusual soundtrack. So, anyway, that was kind of an unusual and surprising approach to our Douyin posts, and it seemed to really resonate. And it's so that was a sign that we were on the right path over there. So moving on to when Musical.ly became a thing, and then evolved into TikTok. We went along to myself and a few colleagues went along to an interesting talk by some influencers, Tom Hooker, who's known as OTB on TikTok, and Vicky Banham, who's another influencer on TikTok. And we listened to them talking about their experiences of evolving from Musical.ly into TikTok, and their experience of creating content for the platform that previously hadn't succeeded for them on YouTube because they put a lot of effort into there, but obviously it's a very crowded marketplace. And just hearing all about their adventures in retention as well. This is all important side of things is the retention that you can gain on TikTok is the most important part of posting, as far as I can see. Is really, you need to engage your audiences with the first few seconds of your video and really keep them watching. And how do you do that? So we started thinking about what we could put on our TikTok channel, and the first and foremost thing that came to our minds was the videos that had really succeeded for us over the last 5 years, and looking at what had really resonated with our audiences the most. So we launched our TikTok channel with kind of a greatest hits profile of some of the really wow moments that we'd seen over the last 5 years. And my colleague Matt, our video editor, one of our video editors, was my kind of partner in crime for this. So we started to experiment with our kind of greatest hits profile. So so that was Sultan and Chandra, the tallest and shortest men in the world at that time, and that was one that really resonated, and actually I think it got about 86 million views. and it was for a while the most popular TikTok video in the UK. We were really happy with how that was going, but we were also making sure that we were feeding our TikTok channel with lots of new evidence videos from our record holders as they were coming in, and representing a really wide geographic and cultural spread, representing the world, because we're Guinness World Records and we should always be doing that. So another thing that we noticed worked best is keeping the descriptions on these videos really short. And kind of, it's almost like the experience of reading one of our books. The text descriptions are quite short and succinct, and really it's all about the record, representing that visually. And actually, what we also found is that if you to engage the community, it's great to post some comments and quotes from the record holders beneath to really get the conversation started. So if you want to add a really long description at the start, maybe just save that for the comment section. Something that we found hasn't worked as well is making the content a bit too long. Obviously, the time limit on TikTok, 1 minute or 59 seconds. If you make that video too long, then the retention is going to be difficult. So on the subject of that, let's move on to... So just looking at those two videos there, I just wanted to make a little comparison of the retention levels. And of course, the first video, which was 10 seconds long, the tallest bed of nails tower, was a 10-second video, as I said, and the actual watch time of that was 12 seconds. And so audiences were actually watching that for longer than the actual running time of the video, which starts to send out the right sort of signals to the algorithm, which increases the chance of you actually ending up in the For You feed. The second video, although it was cool, and it showed a man eating chocolate spread, which I think most people can relate to, it would be a delightful thing to try and attempt, or probably quite sickening as well, but quite fun. But 26 seconds is the length of the video, and actually the average watch time was only about 12. So if you're in a situation like that, then it's best to try and shorten the video to try and retain the audience, and that will certainly work better. Okay, a few other things that I've noticed personally are the first 2 or 3 seconds. The visuals have to be really, really strong, and I would say keep your description simple, as I've mentioned. TikTok seems to be all about humans connecting with other humans about what makes us human, which is a bit wordy, but that seems to be the thing that really engages people. Is showing the human side of people doing something. Maybe for us it's an unusual activity or an amazing skill that's just mind-blowing, and then showing that kind of the real kind of human side to our record holders. And we've had some success with dropping in kind of sound bites and quotes from our record holders as they're talking about their record and how they got to where they are, or an inspiring few lines. We're all about celebrating positivity and surprises and to some extent humor. I think that's where we have a natural affinity with TikTok as a platform. The other thing I would say that's really important, and obviously, the dance challenges are one of the most popular things that's helped TikTok to grow, but music is so important on there, and it's a really obvious thing to say, but if you're able to sync up the action in your video to the music, the rhythm of the music, then that can go a long way as well. It's quite a satisfying watch. So we're getting towards the end now. What's next on TikTok? Well, we are partnering with TikTok UK for a series of videos called Learn on TikTok. We've already started this actually, So we're going to have our record holders talking about how they got to where they are and showing you some skills, which we're really excited about. We're also going to have our editor-in-chief talking all about some of the more unusual artifacts that we have at Guinness World Records. So there's Craig there explaining about the oldest dinosaur vomit. There's Jeremy Munoz, who holds the record for the most ties worn simultaneously, and he's going to be instructing TikTokers about how to tie a Windsor knot tie. There's also Taylor there doing a juggling. She's going to teach TikTokers how to juggle, all in the space of about 17 seconds. And also there's Laura Biondo, who's a Cirque du Soleil record holder from Venezuela. She's going to be teaching some football tricks. So lots of exciting opportunities. Moving on to the emerging platforms, we're experimenting with Reels and Byte. But I think actually I'm going to save the discussion about that for the next session, because that's coming up. We're going to be talking all about that. So thanks very much for watching, everyone. And I think hopefully there's going to be a few questions, and I'm happy to answer them. And also do drop me a few questions via the app as well. I'm really happy to answer anything you have.
Hello, Dan.
Hi, Lucy.
How are you doing? How are you? You all right?
Good, thanks.
Thank you.
Great.
It was such a great talk.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks for having me.
That's all right. It's great to have you back again at Social Day. I know it's under a little bit different circumstances before. Hopefully next year we can be on stage again. So we've got a few questions for you, Dan. Quite a lot of questions actually, like cover thick and fast. So hopefully you have reply to them a bit later on after this. But I'm going to ask some of them now live before we go into our next sessions. So we have a question here from Dylan Tillman, and Dylan says, when adding an already known brand to a new platform, how does it work in terms of growth? Is this organic growth from the new platform, or is it a referral from other platforms, or is it a bit or both? And how do you know what to cut from previous videos? Let's start with the first half of the question, shall we? When adding an already known brand to a platform, how does it work in terms of growth? Is this organic growth from the new platform? Is it a referral from the platforms, or a bit of both?
You broke up a little bit at the end there, Lucy. But organic, is that organic growth versus paid growth?
No, he's saying basically because Guinness World Records is a well-known brand already, he's basically saying when you add a well-known brand like Guinness World Records to TikTok, how does it work in terms of growth? Was it organic growth, just basically for bringing a new brand on the platform, or was it coming from existing platforms? Like, were you telling people from somewhere else to go to your TikTok channel?
It's a really good question. Actually, we weren't actually publicising it a lot. We were experimenting with a few bits of content and putting it out there, and basically working with the stuff that we already knew performed really well elsewhere. We didn't do a lot of cross promotion on our other channels. I think we may have said on Twitter we've joined TikTok, and to begin with, it was it was that approach really.
Okay. Thank you. I hope that answers your question well, Dylan. And we have a question from Alvin Hussey. You know Alvin?
I know Alvin. Hi, Alvin.
Very good question, Alvin. He says, looking forward to us meeting up again in real life. And he says, do you have the Guinness World Record? And if not, what do you think you could achieve?
Yeah, well, technically, if you work against world records, you're not allowed to be a record holder. So I think that rule came in a few years ago. But prior to that, our editor-in-chief held the record for the longest distance to stretch a curly whirly. I think if I was to do a record, it would probably be something related to maybe trying to eat the most donuts or cream crackers. I did actually go up against one of our record holders, Furious Pete, who's a Canadian speed eater. And we both tried to break the record for the fastest time to eat 3 cream crackers. And I did pretty well. I think if I practice at that one, I think I could bust it. I reckon I could do that.
Oh, well, that's a good one. Stuart reckons he could do the donut one. He reckons he could eat the donut or the ice lolly eating contest. So Jacinta Dexter is asking, did you see the beard challenge around Christmas? Who could get the most decorations on their beard on TikTok? It was all over the For Your Page feed. Do you ever look at getting some of the popular creators to duet your content?
Yeah, I think we have talked about that. I think we put out a challenge last year for Guinness World Records Day on TikTok, and that was a partnership that we did where some of the TikTok influencers didn't get involved in trying to balance toilet rolls on their head, which was pretty funny. And some of them kind of went for actually trying it properly, and some of them just kind of did something really funny and really creative and wacky, and so that was lovely. And we do have a record for the most baubles in a beard, which we put out at Christmas time, and so hopefully some of the people that were also doing that saw that record attempt. But yeah, we always be open for anyone to attempt, because I think one thing that we've seen with a lot of influencers is that they're looking for material for their channels. They're looking for something that's fun and engaging for their audiences. So if they want to break a record, we're always up for facilitating that, helping to apply. And with the new GWR challenges, it makes it a lot more simple to apply for a record and get the guidelines, because we're just kind of putting it out there, and the evidence that we're gathering is basically from social, as opposed to have the very complicated process that you normally have, where you have to submit your evidence, get witness statements, get your local vicar to come and watch you do it, and sign a piece of paper to say that it's all, not necessarily a vicar anyway, but it's slightly more complicated, whereas we've simplified the process.
Guys, we all need to find a record that we can to do one. I was part of a record, the most people speed networking in one room.
So did you break the record at the time?
Yeah, it got broken. I think it was in the Mermaid Theatre or something like that, and it was for this networking thing, like this event I went to. There's like 600 people or more speed networking. It was weird, but it was good. So there you go. Emma York is asking, she would be interested to know if you are now using Instagram Reels. I'm interested to know that as well, actually.
Yeah, so we've started experimenting with Reels, and it's one of those things where it's good to be there at the beginning, as with all of these kind of new things, is just to try them out, just have a go. The 15-second limit is a bit restrictive, but I'd say there's a couple of things I like about Reels as well. I like the fact that you can pin 3 comments to the top, which helps the community management side of it. Because sometimes obviously there's people that are going to say something nasty, and ideally you don't want those guys to be the ones that are getting all the likes at the top of your feed. So so that's one nice feature of Reels. We've been playing around with it, and Instagram for us is a channel that needs a lot of work. We're not prioritizing it for a while, because we've kind of been putting all of our efforts into our monetized channels, to kind of try and show that we can monetize our content on Facebook and Snapchat Discover, and so Instagram's kind of taken a bit of a backseat. But I think with Reels we're going to be making sure that we're keeping up with that, and trying things out.
So there you go, Emma. And Michelle Rush is asking, I think we've got time for one more question, and then we're going to have to go over to the next session. Actually, I don't think we've got time for that, because we've got to go to the next session in literally 1 minute. Sorry, Dan. Dan, there are so many questions. People are so interested in hearing everything about what you're doing at Guinness World Records. It's really exciting. So,
that's cool.
Yeah, they're so excited. But we have to go to the next session. Dan, where can people find you if they want to get in touch with you?
Oh, you can find me on LinkedIn, but also on Twitter. I'm Dan Thorne UK. So if you want to throw a question my way there, but via the Social Day app as well, please do send me a direct message. I'm happy to answer your questions. But yeah, Dan Thorne UK is my Twitter handle, and you can also send me a message on LinkedIn.
Fantastic. Dan, thank you so much for being our keynote data again at Social Day. We hope you're going to come back again next year and share all the exciting stuff with us. Massive round of applause for Dan. Thank you, Dan. You have been absolutely amazing. So
Thanks
now
very
on,
much, Lucy. Thanks.